Hello, welcome to the latest Legito webinar. My name is Gary Yunson and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Legito. On today's webinar, we're going to show and talk about our brand new version of Legito. We think it will take about 20 minutes to give this overview, and since this is a live webinar, then feel free to ask us any questions. So without further ado, I will pass over to Mark Settle, who is President of Legito North America. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Gary. And good morning or good afternoon, everyone who's joined. We appreciate you joining today. So before we get started, just a very quick introduction to us as a business. We realize there may be some who are not on the call, or who are on the call who are not Legito customers. We will not give a full overview of Legito on the call. We will focus on new features today, but I would encourage you next week, we will have another webinar where we will give a brief overview of Legito as a whole, as well as have a customer use case from Jeremy Aber of Aber Law. So we're excited to have him share a little bit about his use of Legito within his business next week. So please join us then. So a little bit about us. We're a company that started in 2014. We were started by a practicing attorney who's also a developer, a technologist, who was creating documents and thought there just had to be a better way to do that. And so he created a better way, and that launched what became Legito today. So we now have customers in over 50 countries and all of the inhabited continents, and we're used by many Fortune 500 companies as well. And you can see a few of our logos there. And what we do is we created what we call a smart document workspace. So a big piece of that is document automation or document assembly. So take your documents, turn them into templates, and use them to drive document creation within your business, adding logic and ensuring that you can create efficient, correct, risk-free documents. But we've added a lot additional to that as well. That's why we call it a smart document workspace, because not only can you draft that document in a smart way, but you can manage it. You can approve and sign documents, walking through workflows and integrating with e-signature. You can engage clients or third parties within your Legito site without them having to be a licensed user of that site. You can negotiate with track changes. You can manage and track the deadlines around those documents and even view an audit trail. So that's just a few of the features that Legito has. But without further ado, we really are going to focus on the new features that came out last week in our release. And we're very excited about some of these features. We believe they're just going to add to your ability to use the product in an efficient way to create your documents and to utilize that smart document workspace within your business. So the first is the document menu bar. And then we also have smart navigation and quick action sidebar, new and improved numbering, enhanced warnings, multiple choice for questions and select elements. And then we have some ability to customize that document menu and sidebar that have been added. So we're going to talk about each of those, and then we'll get into a demonstration and show how they work within the software. So the document menu bar, this is probably the most drastic change you'll notice on a daily basis as far as look and feel within the software. And if you're a Legito user, you've probably already seen this and hopefully are loving it. We think it's a great change for usability. So if you were a Legito user and have been for a number of weeks at least, then previously you would have seen some options at the top of the document and at the bottom of the document when completing a document. Those options have been moved into the document menu bar at the top. And that is a fixed menu bar that is always available at the top of the screen. So that allows you to quickly get to the actions that you need to within the document, even if you scrolled to some point in a document or a suite of documents. You can easily pen or minimize the tabs that are there. Your critical actions are really just always visible for you. And then we've added some additional functionality with undo and redo and some other things that we'll see, including that sidebar. So the smart navigation and quick action sidebar is the sidebar down the left-hand side that'll allow you to do things like navigate to the empty inputs easily, view and navigate to warnings to easily correct them, quickly return to the last field that you edited, and even toggle on track changes or viewing all fields versus modifiable fields only. And I say, and more to come, because this sidebar will allow us to add additional functionality in the future to make easier navigation in your document and additional features in the future. So we're very excited about that sidebar and its usability to help you in your document creation. We've also added new and improved numbering. So you've been able to create numbering in Legito and manage it in your template editor. And that numbering is automatic, so that if things are conditional, that numbering will work properly. And so you've always been able to create that, and it's exported to Word numbering if you're exporting to a Word document, so that automatic numbering can even be functional there. But we've now enhanced the numbering within Legito to create multi-level lists and numbering, just like you can in Microsoft Word. So similar to what you've seen there, you can create this multi-level list where you can define the numbering on each of the levels for the different clauses within Legito. So this gives you greater control over what numbering is used within your template at each level, and you can create these styles and then easily apply them. So you can have a default numbering style that applies to every new template, and then you can go into any given template and change that numbering very easily. We've updated our warnings to give you some additional control over what happens with warnings. So now you can choose how these warnings will affect your document workflow. And what I mean by that is you can create a warning that will prevent the user from saving the document, from signing the document, or exporting the document. And so based on what is necessary for requiring those fields, you can require them in these different scenarios. So maybe that question is so important that they shouldn't even be able to save unless they've answered it. Or maybe that field is important only before they sign the document. So it's okay to go through some of your drafting until you're going to sign, but at the time of signing, you need to fill out that field. So now you have this ability to control those warnings in the navigation. Multiple choice questions and selects. So in the past, questions and selects were a single selection only. So you can only select from the dropdown or the radio buttons in a question or a select. If you wanted to have kind of a multiple selection, you could use switcher controls or multiple questions and then condition appropriately based on those options. But we've now added the ability to take a single question or a single select and turn it into a multiple choice. So there's a toggle in the properties for both of these elements. And when you toggle it on, then the user will see what we see here in the screen capture on the right. And we'll see this in action in a little bit. But they'll be able to see checkboxes for a question, or in the drop-down list for a select, they will be able to select multiple of the options to merge into the document. Because a select merges a value into the document, then you also want to control how you merge that value. So you can also set your separator in the text that might go between the second to last item and the last item to control your list formatting for those multiple choice options that get merged into a document. And then finally, you can set up some initial settings for that document control panel or the document menu in the sidebar of what's going to show, whether it's going to show, and what will show when the document is first opened or when each subsequent viewing of a saved document is opened. And we'll take a look at that as well. So with that, let's get in and actually look at these changes in the software. So I'm going to bring up my browser here and open Legito. Get my cursor on the right monitor here. And so I've got Legito here on the screen. Again, we're not going to dive into all of the, a basic overview of Legito. So much of what I'm going to show today assumes you have used Legito. I think it'll be very easy to follow along if you're new to Legito as well. And again, I encourage you to join next week where we will do a bit more of a high-level overview of how Legito works. So let's use our contractor agreement to show this new document menu bar and sidebar navigation and how it works in Legito. So I'm going to use this contractor agreement template. This is just one of our demonstration templates. So I'm going to say create. And that is going to launch my new document editor inside Legito. So right off the bat, you may have noticed some changes. So if you haven't jumped in and you're an existing customer, we used to have options at the top above here and options at the bottom, and they would scroll with the document. So if you would scroll down, you might need to scroll back up to the top or down to the bottom. This menu is now fixed at the top. So I've got my document menu bar here at the top. And you can see as I scroll, that's always available to me no matter where I am in the process of filling out my document. Now let's go through a little bit of what's in this document menu bar. So first, you can see at the top, I've got a menu that will let me easily navigate back to other links in my workspace. I got my template title. And then right next to my template title, I've got both my stage for my workflow. So if I want to change this and advance it in my workflow stage, it's right there at the top, as well as who the owner of the document is. So I can easily change or adjust the owner of this document if I want to. Below that, I've got my tabs and actions. Notice our new undo and redo. So if you filled out an answer and you wanted to undo that rather than having to select it and delete, you can easily undo and redo. And then you've got your tabs for your various actions. So you've got a view tab, which will let you toggle on modifiable fields only, or whether you want to apply all conditions. You've got the review tab. Review tab is where you'll be able to toggle track changes, where you'll see your versions of your document once you start saving, and easily grab those different versions of the document as well. You've got instructions. So if the template author has added some initial instructions on this template, they'll show up in the instructions tab. Again, you can still pop up those instructions to force the user to dismiss a pop-up if you want. And then I've got my ability to import. So I can import from a sheet for this specific document. I can import from another document in Legito. So if I want to import data from another document record, I can easily search and select from those document records and import that data. And then for batch generation, similar to import from sheet, where I can select and upload an Excel spreadsheet and then link it or match it to the fields in the template and generate more than one document based on the number of rows in that Excel spreadsheet. So all of that is right available here in the document menu bar for me, as quick and easy to access. And I can pin or hide these tabs. So if I don't want them visible, I can unpin it and I get a little bit more screen real estate if I need it. In the top right-hand corner, we'll see our actions. And our primary action is almost always going to be the action that we need. If I'm in the middle of drafting my document, then it's the save action. If I'm coming into approve, then I'll see my approve and reject buttons right there. If it's been approved and we're in a process where we need to e-sign, then it will say start signing, and I'm ready to go off and sign. So this button here available at the top right is always going to be the action that I really need next. But if I want to view some of the other actions that are available to me, then there in the dropdown, I can see those actions as well. Next to that, we've got the ability to share the document. So I haven't saved my document yet, but if I have saved my document, then this is when I can start sharing this with other users within the system. So same familiar share interface that you've seen in Legito, but now available right here in the top right-hand corner. And then, of course, my user access here to get to my settings or other things within the site for navigation. So that's the document menu bar. We're going to look at how that gets customized in a little bit as well, and some things that I can change with it. But generally, all of the features that you really need outside of your document from Legito are right there at the top. They're always available. And as I complete that document, I'll easily be able to get to it. Now, you may have noticed while I've been going through this in this contractor agreement, I have a field right here that is required. And so this is a warning, but this warning's been set up to show some of that enhanced warnings. And I'm going to show a little bit more of that later, but I'm going to go ahead and answer that field. But before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and click save. And you'll see because I'm trying to save, this is set that I can't save the document until I answer this date. So I'm saying, hey, you can't create an agreement unless you provide an agreement date. And so that's just one example of our new enhanced warnings. And so I'll go ahead and provide a date there. And with that, now I can save this document. All right, so a few things here about the smart navigation here on the left-hand side. So we've got this new menu down the left-hand side that will give you some different options. So the first is going to show you the number of empty inputs. So it's an easy way to navigate throughout the document. Think of, if you've got very long banking documents and you may have input fields scattered throughout the document that you need to review. Sometimes you want to get to those very quickly. And so one easy way to do that now with this navigation is to use this button. So if I click this button, it will automatically scroll me to the next empty input in the document. You can see that it doesn't have to scroll me because those three are on the same line. But as I continue here, it's just going to scroll me to the empty inputs. So a nice, easy way to find all of the inputs that I really need to complete in the field, in the document. Another way to validate that I've completed everything. So if the template author hasn't required all fields, but I want to know, hey, did I leave anything blank before I actually download the document? Well, again, I can easily review that right here in the top left-hand corner here. Also, if I had warnings, I can easily navigate to those warnings. And then I can also go to my last edited element. So that will actually navigate me back up to the top to the date, because that was the last field that I actually provided a value for. So another nice feature to quickly jump to where I was working. So maybe I was working here and I scroll down to review something in the document and I want to go back to the field I was working on. I can easily click that button and get right back to it. I can also toggle on and off track changes very easily here. So that will turn on and off track changes. In fact, if we show the review tab, then we'll see the track changes there. Let's pin that. Ooh, missed my pin. And so if I toggle it on or off, we can see that changing. And so if I happen to have that hidden, then that's a nice, easy, and quick way to toggle track changes. Likewise, with the view tab, I've got modifiable fields only. If you haven't used this feature before, basically what this is going to do is it's going to remove all of the clauses or parts of the document that don't require input from the user. So it's a way to condense what the user needs to see for answering. And so that the user can kind of toggle that on and off. And that can help them filling out a document a little bit faster. And so you can see I can toggle that on or off with this button as well, because it's going to my review tab automatically. We'll show that. So I can toggle that on and off with just a click of a button, so that if I don't have my menu showing, I can easily do that. So again, you can see here, if I toggle it on, you'll see some of this text removed from the document, and I only see the input fields where the clauses where I need to actually provide input. So that is our smart navigation there on the left-hand side and some of the things it can do for you. I want to look a little bit more at enhanced warnings. So I'm going to go to a different tab where I've got a different document open here. And you can see I've got actually 4 mandatory fields in this document. So it's a loan agreement. I've got creditor's name. I've got debtor's name. I've got a question that needs to be resolved. And I've got even the drawdown type that has to be resolved before signing. Here we can see the different actions. So these actually have to be resolved before I save. So this is a mandatory field. So if I try to save, then I'll get that same message we saw before, that I've got fields that need to be resolved before I save. Here again, nice navigation amongst the warnings. They're not really spread that big out throughout this document, but let's go ahead and fill these out. So we'll say this is just ABC Company, XYZ Company. And so now let's try to save. Now I've got a couple warnings left here, but if I save, it actually let me save the document. And the reason it let me save the document is because of how those warnings are set up. So again, you can set that warning to not allow a save or prevent saving, but you can also allow it to save, but not download the document. So you can see my download action is showing here, but I can't download because this has to be answered before I can download. So if I answer that, well, now I can save and download. So now if I save, I'll be able to download. But if I move this along in my workflow to where I got to signing would be grayed out until I answered this question. So here I've got to, draw down information that maybe I need to answer. Now, once I've resolved all those warnings, I would be able to go and save this document. So you can set those warnings up to really control whether or not the user can advance with that document. And that's really useful in some of the workflows to even prevent, hey, I don't want, the approver doesn't want to see certain documents if certain data is not provided. And so you can not only validate based on the values that they provide, but you can even keep them from submitting, the document based on invalid data. All right, so that is enhanced warnings. So let's take a look at multiple choice questions and selects. So I'm going to go back to my contractor agreement, and I'm going to scroll down into the reimbursement section. And you'll see right away here, I've got this question here that's a multiple choice. So this is a question type, and it's set to multiple choice. And I'm basically prompting, hey, which expenses do you want to allow them to reimburse? And so this might be hidden, so it can be conditional just like any other question. So if I say will or will not be, we can hide that question. But I can also toggle on or off options. So if I check some of those options, I can make things conditional on those options as well. And so whether I want to reimburse transportation, food, hotel, or maybe even add some optional other expenses, I can do that. And that allows me to create conditions for all of those paragraphs based on a single question because it's multiple choice. And then in this transportation expenses section, you can see I've got a select here, but it has also been set to multiple choice. And so just like a normal select, it drops down and I can see my options. But rather than selecting a single option, you'll see here as I click an option, I can actually select multiple of those options. So let's say I want to reimburse for everything but trains. That nobody can take trains. I'm not allowing that. So I can check rental car, taxi, Uber, and parking. And you'll notice this is going to merge in. I can see my merge value in that select like I always can in Legito, but it's a formatted set of values because of the separator and the second to last and last option that was provided with the element. So you can see I'm getting air travel, comma, rental car, comma, taxi / Uber, and parking. So I can see those 4 options in a nice list format getting merged into the document. So that's multiple choice questions. We're going to go look at how that's set up in the template. And while we do that, we can also take a look at our new lists, multi-level lists and numbering inside of Legito. So I'm going to go ahead and just save and close this document. We don't need it. We're going to edit our template now. So we're going to close this. We're going to go back to my site. We're going to open up this contractor agreement for edit. We're going to go ahead here, and then we're going to click edit. And that will bring up our template editor for our contractor agreement. And let's look at those options for turning that question and that select into multiple choice. So I'm just going to scroll down to that reimbursement section, which is in Article 6. There we go. And so in Article 6 here, you can see my question and you can see my select that we just saw in that document. And so simply, making these into a multiple choice is simply selecting an option in the properties. So you can see they're set up just like normal. So the question is simply a question with the responses, just like you set up every other question inside of Legito. But then I can just simply edit that question, go to properties, and I've got a toggle to toggle it on or off as a multiple choice. So if I toggle it on as multiple choice, I'll get checkboxes and the user will be able to select one or more options. Same with a select. I can click on that select and I can toggle on or off multiple choice. And if I do that, there's where I can set my separator, my second to last separator, and the last punctuation if I need to add it. This is in the middle of a sentence, so I've left that blank. Then I've got and a comma with a space for the separator. So that gives me that nice list format that we just saw in the output document. So this gives me a nice ability to, rather than having, sometimes I would have multiple questions there to put these options in and then some conditional logic around it. Now I can create that list format and merge multiple values from a single dropdown. It gives you a lot of flexibility in your document. So you could accomplish some of these things before. This simplifies how you would accomplish that inside of Legito. So great new feature, we believe, for our customers. Along with that, just so you can see here the conditions. So if I go back to my question, you can see here this question has these different options, but let's click on this paragraph and go to conditions. And I can condition on this paragraph based on the options that are selected in that question. So if the question and the contract agreement provide expense reimbursement for is set to, and then I've got my 4 options, but it's a multiple choice. And so you can see, rather than having to create multiple questions for each of these paragraphs, my condition for each of these paragraphs just changes based on the single questions options. So that simplifies some of your logic that you create in your template for merging those paragraphs conditionally as well. All right, so we've covered most of our items. We have 2 more items to cover. We're going to look at our numbering enhancements, and we'll look at customizing that initial document menu bar. So to look at our numbering, we're in a template here, and this is actually going to be a good example because we've got in this paragraph, this Article 6, we've got a paragraph and we've got subparagraphs. So we've got 3 levels of numbering inside the document. So I'm just going to go to my numbering and template in the left-hand navigation. And so here you can see the new numbering lists. So before you had some options for numbering here that you kind of configured on a clause by clause level. Well, now that numbering is managed in your settings to create these numbering lists, and you simply select the list that you want to apply into the document in the template editor. And so selecting in the template editor is much simpler. So rather than having to set up various settings, it's going to use the default list that you set up. And if I want to change that, it's as simple as the click of a button. I can immediately see the numbering scheme change in my document that will be used. And so I can set up my different numbering schemes and easily apply them quickly to my template. If I want to manage those numbering schemes, I can do that in my settings. And you see here in the template editor, you've got a nice quick shortcut to get to that. So I'm going to click on Manage. And that will take me to the numbering in the in the settings. So I can easily navigate to this as well just by going to my user icon and settings, and then clicking on numbering. So here I can see my lists that are available inside of my workspace. And so you can see we break down multi-level lists and numbering just like Word does, and you can manage and create in both of those places. There are some default lists that are in there from Legito, and then you can create and manage your own as well. The default lists cannot be deleted, but they can be duplicated if you want to use them as a starting point for another list. And I've got some default lists or some other lists that I set up here. And then the nice thing again is just like every other setting that you set up in Legito, you can set one as the default so that every new template will use that same numbering scheme. And so you're not, that default is not something Legito determines, it's something you determine based on how you set up your numbering and your settings. So if we want to create a new numbering scheme, I'll just say create. You can see here I can easily edit this at each of the levels, article, paragraph, and point. And at each of these, I can set up what numbering style. So maybe I want to use little Roman numerals, and I don't want to include the beginning for article and paragraph. So I can simplify this down to just the I inside of Legito. And so you can build a list, something similar to this one, where at each of the levels, you're doing something different. So I've got, Arabic numbers, then letters, and then little Roman numerals, and then even numbers. And then you could even at the item level, maybe I want to set this as ordinals for some reason. So you've got some ability to change this numbering and set up these numbering schemes to use within your templates easily. And then once you set up a scheme, reusing it is as simple as selecting it in the template editor. So we think a great improvement in numbering is we continue to add more and more to the styling that we allow inside of Legito to control how your templates look and feel and how you manage them. Finally, our final customization or new feature, to show you is the customization of the document menu or sidebar. And that is done in the template suite settings. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this tab, and we can close this tab that we had open earlier. And we'll go ahead and close our template editor as well. I'm not gonna save anything there. So I'm gonna go back to my template suite settings here. And you can see on the right-hand side now, below the properties, you've now got this new option here, document menu bar. And so you can actually toggle on and off the document menu bar. I want to show you quickly with that off because that may be a desirable feature in some cases for some of our customers. So I'm just going to uncheck that box. I'm going to go back to my other tab and start a document with a contractor agreement because I want to show you what that looks like. So if that's toggled off, you can see here the document menu bar is not visible. Now I still have my quick action. I need to be able to save or download the document, but I don't have my navigation. I don't have the other options. Could be a really good use case for internal users that you want to simplify things for. So maybe you're asking them to just fill out a form. It's very simple, it's concise, and you don't want them to have to worry about any of those other options. And so you can actually toggle off the document menu bar for that template, provide it to them, let them fill it out. And so that is an option. You can turn it off. We'll close this and go back to those settings. I can also control which tab shows on a first draft and on any subsequent reviewing of a document. So the reviewing default tab would be anytime I'm opening up a document that's already been saved, or even after I save it, when the document's open, it will automatically switch to the review tab. First draft is when I first start a document. So we had that on view. Let's say I want to change it to the initial instructions, and we want to change the review. We'll leave the reviewing tab as review. So with that, if I set that, when I launch this document now to create a new contractor agreement, you'll see for a first draft, it goes right to the instructions tab. So I have some ability to control which of these tabs shows up when a new document is started inside of Legito. All right. So with that, we've gone through all of the features. We greatly appreciate you staying on for the webinar today. We'll do Q&A in just a moment. Before we do that, I do want to say we're seeing some great new features today that we've added to the system. We take a lot of pride in continuing to add new features, but that is all driven by our customers. So the big thank you here really is for our customers for the continued feedback we get. You are helping drive the improvement of the software, asking for the features that you need to see for your business. So I just encourage you to keep that up. We love that. So keep the feature requests coming, and we will continue to add new features for our customers to help you be more efficient in creating your documents within your business. So we'll turn it over to Gary to look at any questions that may have come in. And anyway, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. That was great. It's just great just to see the continued improvement every month. Every webinar that we show here is just again just getting pushed further and further by the customers, and we're seeing that in the product. So it's great. We've only have looks like we only got one question, and really we kind of before the question when the question came in, we've kind of answered it as we went through the presentation. It was just from Max asking where you can find the smart navigation when he's editing a document. But I think you already kind of showed it with the top left-hand corner. You'll drop it down from there. So I think that's the only one I can see, unless you've got any more yourself, Mark.
I don't have any other questions that have come into me directly, and I think maybe the lack of questions is a good thing, because it means that what we've created as a user interface is nice and intuitive for using these functionalities, and that is really what we've been driving to do. So that we really think these changes will make it faster and easier for you to use the software that is already helping you in your business. So we appreciate your time today.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, I think that's it. We'll just wrap it up just now. Just a reminder that we are going to have another webinar next week. So stay tuned for that, similar time on the 17th of November. So yeah, looking forward to speaking to everybody then. And yeah, thanks for joining again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.